Welcome to the Agile Talks again. In the same time, in the same day, we are here with you and to learn together and to improve together. So today, I'm again excited because we will organize a session with Jeff Sutherland. It will be our second round with him. And as you know, in the first round, he answered lots of questions for us. In this round, we have lots of questions again, and we will learn from him. So let's invite Jeff and learn together. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for inviting me again. I enjoyed the last session. Looking forward to it.
And we are here again, and we will learn lots of things, as I hope. So let's start the questions. As in the last session, our attendees asked lots of questions, and we couldn't answer that because of the limited time. And now we have time, and we prepared all that questions, and I'm excited to listen that answers from you. So let's start the first question. The question is about everybody's talking about Agile, and they are saying Agile is about doing Agile, being Agile part, and lots of companies is trying to change their perspective. Yeah, we are trying to doing Agile, but we need to being Agile. So what do you think about this doing Agile and being Agile?
Well, being Agile is delivering twice the value in half the time. Okay, that's real simple, right? And that translates it. When I was working last with the Amazon management, I found that they were delivering a new feature more than once a second live to millions of users. That's Agile. When I was doing training Tesla, I found that Tesla was introducing over 20 hardware and software changes every week to the cars on the assembly line. And those were completely regression tested as they're moving down the line. And every 10 hours, it takes 10 hours for a car to get down the line, and it comes out and it's shippable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Agile means you have shippable product every 10 hours. You're a hardware company that is updated 20 times a week. Or if you're a software company, okay, when I was working with Microsoft, they moved their delivery of all of their development projects, thousands of users. They deploy every day a new release internally. And they can actually do it multiple times a day, but they think once a day is enough for people. So that's Agile. So when people, if you look at the Standish Group data, 58% of Agile teams can't deliver. So
50% is very low. Yeah, very.
This is people saying they're Agile, but they're actually not delivering. So it's that second value in the Agile Manifesto. You're delivering early and often, consistently. That's what agility is all about.
Yeah, also we don't need to use being or doing Agile. We can use just Agile. Is it right? Or
yeah, they say they're doing Agile and not delivering. I mean, it makes no sense. You can't do Agile without delivering. You can't be Agile without delivering.
So we deliver and also with the high quality, and I agree with that. So let's continue the second question. The next 2 or 3 questions will be about the roles, Agile roles. And the Scrum created lots of people is confusing about the Scrum Master role. So let's start the first question about the roles. What is the big challenge with Scrum Master?
Well, I'm meeting with Scrum Masters every week in some sessions like this. Some are actually classes. I am a Scrum Master myself for a healthcare startup. And I am coaching the Scrum Master. I have a global web team that's building websites for my companies. And while I'm the customer, I'm also the coach for the product owner and the Scrum Master. So every day I am in a Scrum meeting as either the coach of a Scrum Master or actually the Scrum Master. So I know this. I'm not just talking about old stuff, right? This is the daily. And what I hear every week is Scrum Masters saying, what do I do if people on the team don't want to do Scrum? Or what do I do if the management won't support me? Would be the biggest problems. Those would be the big challenges. So do you want me to recommend the solutions, or because this is what I hear constantly.
Okay, how can we eliminate that problem?
Okay. So the first thing is to be agile. You have to come into a situation and you expect that there's going to be impediments. And as a Scrum Master, you have a way of solving these impediments. So if these are your two big impediments, the people don't want to do Scrum properly or well or even at all, and the management's doing things that actually is making your life miserable and making the team unable to respond, then as a Scrum Master, you need to have a strategy to address that. Now, the first thing I really recommend to people is that you measure the flow of backlog through the system, right? So, and there, you can actually get plugins that will actually measure the flow of stories to a sprint. And you want that flow metric to be certainly over 50%, better yet, over 80%. And what you'll find is that teams are slow are down around 10%, 10 to 20%. And it's very easy for a Scrum Master to get that flow to go up by helping the team to work together, removing bottlenecks, removing impediments, removing blocks, and getting that flow going up. By doing that, the combination of the flow and the velocity, you now have data to present to the management to show them, okay, management, if you do this, then the flow goes down and the velocity of productions goes down. But if you help me over here, the flow goes up and the velocity of production goes up. And you're paying my team over $100,000 a month, fully burdened, for maybe a 7-person team. And if I can double production, you get an extra $100,000 a month of product. And here's what I need you as a manager to do to help me out. And the same thing for the team. So for my global web team, I was really working, they provided a team with a typical project manager. I said, we're not going to do management here. Okay, so I'm going to train you, the project manager, to be a product owner. And the first thing you've got to do is go to Scrum Inc., registered Scrum product owner course, and then we'll talk. And then we'll start building a backlog. And we're going to put it in Jira so everybody can see it. And so we started doing that. And as we did that, I said, we're going to do it really simple. We're just going to throw the stories in there. We'll figure out estimation later, and we'll just start counting how much stuff we get done. It's because they're really slow. So then I said, you guys have great quality, but you're really slow. Why are you slow? And I said, I want someone on the team to volunteer to be a Scrum Master, because then I was going to send them to the registered Scrum training for a Scrum Master at Scrum Inc. So they actually know what I'm talking about. So we finally get a person who was actually the one that really understood how to build web content as the Scrum Master. And so then I met in a training session with the product owner and the Scrum Master, and we said, okay, what's the process of creating a new web page? And it is a long process with, about 8 different steps and all these handoffs. And I talked to the Scrum Master, the reason the velocity is so low, and if you measure flow, the flow is like 10%, is because you have to stop doing all these handoffs, or if there is a transition, it needs to go extremely fast. Okay. And it took that new Scrum Master a few sprints to figure that out. But in the last sprint, the velocity tripled.
Oh.
And the flow went from 20% to over 80%. And I took that chart and I sent it to the CEO of their huge consulting company. And I said to the CEO, this is an amazing Scrum Master, amazing team, and you need to get everybody in your company running like this. I don't want any more project leaders. Doesn't work. They're too slow. We're going to get these guys going 5 times faster. Now, as soon as you do that, then now all the team is excited. now the Scrum Master is like being called into the CEO's office to find out how she did such a wonderful job, right? So this is how you start getting a team really pumped. This is how you start getting the management really helping you as a Scrum Master to get the team even better. And here's how you get a lot of visibility for the team so that they get promoted and they get more bonuses and all this kind of stuff, right? This is how a good Scrum Master builds great teams.
And I have a question about this part, because in lots of companies, in my experience, they are putting Scrum Master and they are putting Agile Coach, Enterprise Agile Coach, different type of roles. And they are saying, yeah, in team level, Scrum Master, you need to work in there. But in the maybe not organizational level, yeah, in sometimes organizational level, we need to put Agile Coach, not Scrum Masters, because Scrum Masters just can serve for teams. But if you want to change the company's way of working, you need to work with Agile Coach, they are saying. What do you think about that role, Scrum Master, Agile Coach, Enterprise Agile Coach?
So that role evolved because the Scrum Masters were not well trained enough or experienced enough to actually deal with the organizational issues. And the Scrum Master might be helpful for the team, but he couldn't get the managers to change their behavior, right? So we got Agile coaches in there to do it. But at Scrum Bank, where the whole company runs the Scrum, we have a registered Agile coach program. Every one of our Scrum Masters is a registered Agile coach. The true roles are identical. And that's the way I want my Scrum Masters, okay? I want them to be able to change the organization, change the team, make things better. And to do that, they need to know how to be a really good Agile coach, okay? And in my companies, I always focused on training the Scrum Masters as Agile coaches rather than bringing in more people. That increases the cost and increases the communication. But if you have Scrum Masters that can't do that, you have no choice, right? So like Henrik Nieberg at Spotify, who went in, the Scrum was really bad. So he brought in Agile coaches to fix it. But he could have done what I do, is I say, okay, I want to train the Scrum Masters to be Agile coaches. Then I only have one person to do the job instead of having to pay for 2 people.
And in that part, I think lots of Scrum Masters just learning how to manage that rituals. As I know, I saw some tweets in couple of last days about that training part. I think that training is very important part. If they cannot empower, they cannot train a good way, they are directly to going with to manage some rituals. So
Yeah, well, the Japanese, when we started working with them, we
yeah.
started working with uh, a multi-billion-dollar company in Tokyo that was, I think, 20 or 30% owned by Toyota. And they told us, you have to change your training because the training, if you just teach a Scrum Master, the Scrum Guide, that doesn't work.
I
And they
mentioned about that.
said, we're going to be the trainers at Toyota.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to really up your game. And they said, develop a joint venture, Scrumming Japan, and we're ready to invest, but only if you actually get training that produces great Scrum Masters and great teams, and a training that we can bring into Toyota and train the people at Toyota. So we had to say, okay, we worked with them for a couple of years. The Scrum Guide is important, but it's only 25% of the training. A Scrum Master can make a great Scrum team with just the Scrum Guide. Scrum Master needs to know what are the characteristics of really high-performing team. And over the last 10 years, we produce a book on patterns called the Scrum Book, the Spirit of the Game. And in that book, there are 8 hyper-productive team patterns that must be implemented to get twice the results in half the time, right? And so a Scrum Master needs to know exactly how to increase production 400% with a team. Third, part of that increase in production, they need to really understand basic lean principles. So things like value stream mapping, things like the A3 process, things like root cause analysis. The Scrum Master needs to be trained in how to operationalize lean, because Scrum is based on a paper by Takeuchi Nanaka in the 1986 Harvard Business Review, where they created the word Scrum project management based on looking at the best lean companies in the world. So you can't have great Scrum teams without having them lean. Okay. And finally, around the same time, the Intel Agile leadership came to me and they said, Jeff, we have thrown out all scaling frameworks at Intel because they slowed the teams down. In fact, the management was so upset, they said, we don't even want to hear the word Scrum at Intel because that's making people slow. You need to go twice as fast as you are next year as you are this year. And they came to me and said, Jeff, you need to write down how to do that. I mean, we are already faster than any scaling framework, and any scaling framework slows us down. So the management has thrown them all out, and you need to write down how to make us go even faster. And I did. It's called the Scrum at Scale Guide. And it is designed to make the entire organization go 400% faster. Now, if you look at our latest publication with John Deere, during COVID, they focused Scrum on the part of the company that was slowing them down the most, which was purchasing, contracting, managing the value stream. And they increased the velocity by 10 times in terms of improvements in the whole purchasing, contracting, production, supply chain management of the agricultural equipment. And they shipped 15 times as many tractors. This is what Agile means. Agile means instead of shipping one tractor, you ship 15 tractors in the same amount of time, right? Their stock price went up 400%, right? So Agile for organization means your stock price goes up because you're delivering better product faster than your competitors, right? So the training needs to include the Scrum Guide,
Mm-hmm.
high performing patterns, lean practice and principles, and how to do Scrum at scale where the whole organization is 400% faster. And that's a training we built in Japan, and now we brought it to the United States, and we have a whole program that's training people, Scrum Masters, how to be great Agile coaches, right? So instead of hiring 2 people, you can hire 1 person and get the same result, right? That's all about what Scrum is about, doing
Oh,
more with less.
and I think the value stream mapping part is very important to focusing their pain points and the focusing the flow and lean is very important for that part. I want to add some point in that area. Lots of companies starting their transformation with a management. But I think they need to start with a Scrum Master's Agile coach, because if the Agile coach or Scrum Master understand the transformation wrong, they are teaching the management, yeah, this is the guide, as you said, 20% includes as you said, the training. They are trying to follow just on that without focusing lean, without focusing value stream management, without focusing Scrum at scale and high performing team. I think we need to start with Scrum Masters and Agile coaches if you want to
Yeah,
transform the company.
I think that's true. If the Scrum Masters are new, they don't really understand it all. So, for example, in my global web team, I have a team. I have people in Greece, I have people in Ukraine, Slovakia, United States. We meet, we have a Scrum meeting, and I'm the Agile coach at that meeting because the Scrum Master is new, but I'm training the Scrum Master how to be an Agile coach.
Hmm.
And I'm also training their supervisor is the vice president of marketing, and I know the CEO. So I'm also training the management, in this case, the vice president of marketing and the CEO, on how they should run customer projects using Scrum well and get twice the work at the time or twice the value at half the cost, because that's what the customer wants, right?
Yeah. And let's continue with the other role, product owner. As I remember, yeah, we talked about that product owner role, and you mentioned, and we discussed about uh, the companies is changing the business analyst role to product owner role, and it brings some mistakes and also it brings some problems. But the question is different, comes from our attendees. Product owner are reporting to product managers, and in safe, as you know, product owner, product manager, business owner, there is different type of roles. So doesn't it undermine the product owner role? What do you think about product owner, product manager, epic owner, the other roles?
Yeah, so I've been the CEO or CTO of 11, well, now 12 companies. I'm on my 12th company. And some of them have been big companies that I've come into. And so the first thing I do is I want to build a product owner team. So I talk with the head of management, VP of marketing, senior VP of marketing. He usually has a bunch of product managers. So I explained Scrum to him, and I said, we're going to set up a product owner team. Which of the product managers would be good product owners or chief product owners? Because I'm going to train them that job. Right now, your product managers are writing a spec, and then they're throwing it over the transom, and then they expect a year later somebody comes back with something they like. And I explained to them that does not work in today's world. Okay, so I want someone who's going to own a bunch of products or a product line. I want them to be a chief product owner. here's the responsibility. Now, if you go to the project, there's an institute on product management, and they have a really nice chart about what product management is. And the middle of that chart is all product owner.
Hmm.
And on one side of the chart, they have competitive analysis. And on the other side of the chart, they have marketing and sales support. So I say, if I'm a big company, I say, we're going to take the product owners, they're going to take this whole chunk of defining the product and delivering the product. And we'll have a separate group over here that does competitive analysis. They will not control the backlog at all. They will just feed information to the product owners. And the product owners will tell the product marketing managers, they usually call these people, the people that are going to do the shows and the sales collateral and work with the salespeople. There'll be a team that does that is not focused on the product owner delivery cycle, but they will work closely with the product owners to take what the product owners have into the customer facing situations, provide the collateral and all that kind of stuff. So about 2/3 of the product management framework is actually product owners. And I want product owners to focus on delivery and not be distracted by anything else. So that's the way I set it up. And so at the end of the day, we have nobody called product manager.
And
owners. We have some product marketing managers, maybe. And we have somebody, they use different titles for the competitive analysis team, strategy competitive analysis team. I had one of those teams in Germany a while back from Deutsche Bank. I had the 7-person product strategy team for Deutsche Bank. And I said, what are you guys doing here in the Scrum Master course? And they said, well, they said, this month Amazon started doing consumer loans in Germany. And for small loans, Amazon has all the data on the customers. And so they can give a small loan. They can do it in a couple of minutes. It takes us 3 weeks. We lost almost 100% of our consumer loan business in a week. So we decided we need to run this product strategy team by Scrum. So that team is important because they're feeding the executives and the product owner team important information on strategy. But that should be run as a Scrum also, right? With a product owner and a Scrum Master of that team.
Okay, we need to empower that team. And also, I have a question about the chief product owner. Yeah, is the permanent no role, or for example, if any e-commerce director can be the chief product owner? What do you think about this role?
The chief product owner has to be accountable for revenue delivery and increasing the value per point, revenue delivery with lower cost, right? So in Silicon Valley, I had the chief product owner of Hewlett Packard before it split up into multiple companies. And he had $200 billion revenue that he was responsible for. But he came to my product owner training, Scrum product owner training. And he said one slide in that class was going to enable him to increase his revenue from 200 billion to 220 billion simply by managing the backlog a little differently. That's how valuable that product owner class, the product owner class, is to chief product owners.
And as I remember in our last session, you mentioned the product owner need to be responsible for the revenue and the market. And if
Yeah.
they're not responsible, they are just creating some backlogs and discussing with some customers or business teams. And I think that was very important point. And maybe we can talk about the content about the project product management training, because we discussed about the Scrum Master trainings, 25% for Scrum Guide, Lean, Flow. What is includes in that product owners training? The topics. Can you share with us?
Yes, I mean, we start with a vision. We create, what are we trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
We need to translate that vision into product goals.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Product goals will be a plan for delivering, a minimal viable product. For that, we need personas. We train people in the personas. And then we start building a backlog and working with the team to estimate the backlogs. We train the product owners how to do that at scale.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing if you have this huge thing with 100 teams and your management says you need to deliver this in 6 months? How do you figure all that out? We do a lot of scaling training for product owners, but we train them on accountability. They are accountable for delivering twice the value to the market at half the cost currently. And they can significantly reduce cost in two ways. One is by making the product easier to manufacture, by the way you think about it and build that backlog. And the other is by increasing the velocity of the team. And we know that if a product owner has good product backlog, the velocity of the team will more than double. So we show the product owners how they can directly influence the speed of the team, which can cut the cost in half. So if they can cut the cost in half by doubling the speed of the team, and they can cut the cost in half again by managing backlog correctly, then now it costs them 25% of the cost, and they're going to get 400% more revenue. Then if they can increase the value, they can even do better than that. I've had CEOs report 800% increase in revenue in 1 year.
Oh.
Scrubbing the products in the company.
And let's talk about the estimates. You mentioned the estimates and the team velocity. And I saw again some tweet about one partner said the company, you need to deliver us 200 point user story in a month, in every month or in each month. What do you think about that processes? How can we follow that velocity?
Yeah. So you have to understand how to approach this. So when I was working for one of the biggest consultancies in the world, they were operating out of Russia at the time. I said, you guys should implement the money for nothing, change for free strategy. You're doing all these fixed price contracts. And what you want to do is you want to say, here's how many points the project is. Here's when we can deliver it. But we're going to work closely with you. And when we've done enough to deploy, you can stop the contract. And our goal will be actually to be come in early. So if we can come in at 70% of the actual contract value, then we'll take that 30% remaining. You give us 30% of that, you take the other 70%, and then we get money for nothing out of that contract. And to do that, we have to change so low cost that change is essentially free. And here's how we do that. We explain that all out. And they found that program was amazingly successful. And it required really good product management from the point of view of the consultancy. So they only offered it to their best customers who would volunteer to follow some of the principles of Scrum. But that's the way to really do business, where you actually come in early, you make money for coming in early, and you allow the customer to change the backlog at sprint boundaries whenever they want. They can change. Now, as we offered that to big customers like T-Mobile, I remember was one of the customers. I don't know if they work with Deutsche Bank. I mean, they're big customers. Customers said, yes, we want that, but we want to work with the team. We want to set up an initial small contract, maybe for a month. We want a couple of sprints, or if they're doing 1 week sprints, even better, 4 sprints. And we'll establish the velocity of the team. So we actually know how the points are measured and how many we're going to get. And then we're going to expect you to increase the velocity of the team throughout the project. Bring it in early. And then when you bring it in early, you get some of the money and we get some of the money back. So there is an initial assessment and setup that the customer and the contractor need to work out the whole estimation practice.
And in that part, I have another question is about team performance, and lots of companies is trying to measure the team performance, Scrum team performance. What do you think about that part? How can we measure the team performance? Or the first question can be about directly that. How can we?
The best metric for team performance is flow. It's called flow efficiency. It's in multiple plugins in Jira. Why? Because the team can understand how to improve that. And when they improve it, velocity automatically increases. Velocity is useful, but only looking into the past. It doesn't help you figure out how to go into the future. Flow efficiency. I saw a team in India increase the flow efficiency from 20% to over 80% in 3 days. And finished a whole 2-week sprint in 3 days. And the team figured that out completely by themselves. I just told them, use flow efficiency and make it go up. So it's very easy for the team a smart team to figure this out, and that will automatically increase production.
Okay, that's a great point, flow efficiency. And also they need to know their flow before the mission. So,
see, the problem with velocity, if you say to someone, you have to run faster, they think they need to work harder.
I know that.
So they get burnt out, they're under pressure, they get depressed, they go slower, right? But if you focus on flow efficiency, they say, well, I remember this Indian team, they said, we just put 3 people at every story and the flow efficiency went up. We got 2 weeks of work done in 3 days. We actually worked less. And they said, that was amazing, right? So once you expect that, you want to do that all the time, right? Work less to get more stuff. I mean, that's what everybody wants, right? I remember I was working with I figured this out. I was working with the Norwegian Railroad. And so I'm working with their Agile coaches. And we're going to be presenting to the management of the company. And they said, Jeff, us Norwegians, we'd like to get more stuff, but we want to work less. In Norway, we want to be at the pub by 5 o'clock, maybe by 4 o'clock. So if you can get us more stuff by working less, that's a Norwegian thing.
I think this is important. And lots of bosses are saying you need to complete much more story point to be more fast. I think to focus on flow velocity is very important to understand. I think that secret points is includes the yeah. If we understand the Scrum of, if we understand the Agile is right, I think lots of teams will work more valuable way and also will be more fast. But if
Yeah.
they focus just to doing some things, as you said, the, going with some books, and it's affecting the whole businesses. And the other question, yeah, is about yeah, maybe to answer this question with easy way. What do you think about the hybrid models, hybrid agile models?
Well, a hybrid model is
Yeah.
like making a horse into a camel. It makes it really slow, but you don't have to feed it much water.
Hmm.
So you'd only want to do that if you want to go slow.
Mm-hmm.
You want to not be a responsible manager, right?
Hmm.
You can slack off as a manager and it will be really slow. I have never seen a hybrid model get delivered twice the value in half the time. Maybe somebody can come up with one. I'm interested. Talk to me if you have one. But I've been in this business for almost 30 years and I've never seen one, right? So you'd only want to do one of these if you want to go slower.
Okay. Okay. And let's continue with the other question. I think you answered this question, but let's ask it again because the attendance asked to us. Which industry shouldn't be doing Scrum at scale? Oh,
Well, Scrum at Scale is designed for an organization, and it works just as well for a beer company as for an automobile company as it does for a software company or a nonprofit in any domain because it tunes the organizational structure. It's a new organizational operating system, right? So, and it's an operating system that delivers twice the value at half the cost. So anybody, and I actually was coaching a CIO of a nonprofit this week, and they're management by committee. They know nothing about Scrum. Everything takes forever. They waste all the money that's donated, right? Not all of it, but most of it is wasted. And they want to know what to do. And I said, well, you need to start simple. You need to go to basic principles, right? You need to start working in short increments, probably every week. You need to have a goal for what you want to achieve every week. You need to have a list of stuff to be done every week that's prioritized properly. And then you need to have a meeting where you look at what's done and then talk about how you can do it next week better. Okay. Even my kids can understand that, right? You don't even have to say the word Scrum because Scrum is just a term that tries to describe first principles that are absolutely essential. And every Agile practice that has any ideas about being Agile does those things. They have short cycles, they have a goal, they have stuff that they want to get done, and then they get together and they look at what's done and they try to figure out how to get done better in the next cycle. And if it's a daily cycle, it looks like Kanban. If it's a weekly cycle, it looks like Scrum. Actually, the fastest teams in the world, you can't tell the difference between Scrum and Kanban. They both look the same, right?
Okay, that's. And the other question is about, I think, yeah, the question is about always people are saying Scrum is brilliant framework, and but they are always again saying it doesn't work in our company. Yeah. Uh,
Well, yeah, well, it doesn't work in your company because you have an old operating system that doesn't work.
mhm.
So you're going to have to change the operating system. So in Scrum at Scale, we start small. We train people how to do it. But we start, I mean, even Toyota, when we went into, we worked with Toyota in Europe, the United States, and now we're working in Japan with them. We said, we look at the most important projects, and they said, let's measure process efficiency because that is the central measure for the Toyota production system. And we looked at the process efficiency. It was the project, one of the big projects we worked on was a system for all the dealers, Toyota dealers in the United States. And they had 200 people working on it for 5 years. And I believe it was for that project, but the process efficiency was like 0.002%. They hadn't delivered anything actually. So probably should have been zero. And the management was very upset to me. They said, Jeff, you don't understand the politics in this organization, and you're making us look bad. And I said to them, the Toyota production system is based on process efficiency, and you are making me look bad because you only have a process efficiency of 0.002%. You need to make that go up. So all these companies that think they can't implement Scrum because it won't work there, they need to look at their process efficiency and they make it go up, or they're going to go out of business. Today, things are changing so fast. How many companies went bankrupt in Turkey during COVID? In the United States, it was thousands. And guess what? In the next 10 years, there's going to be even more than that go bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
Because they're saying, oh, Agile won't work in our company. All of a sudden, customers don't want their products anymore. Why should they take their old product that's slow? Look, I worked with BMW management. I said, if I'm buying BMW, my Tesla, it gets updated every 2 weeks and it has more features. If I buy a BMW, when do I get a new feature in the BMW? And they said, never.
If you buy the new one,
They said, why would I buy a BMW where the feature change is so long? I actually have to buy a new car to get a new feature, when with a Tesla, I can get a new feature every 2 weeks. Explain to me. And I coached the BMW management. You need to connect up the cars to the internet. You need to download the software into the car. You need to upgrade the car when you download. You need to fix bugs in the car by a download. When I remember I had the very first Tesla Roadster. I was driving home. It was a really hot day, and the air conditioning stopped on the way home. And I actually got on my iPhone and I sent an email to Tesla saying, my air conditioner is working in my Roadster. It took me 20 minutes to get home. I immediately go into my computer and I got an email back within 20 minutes from Tesla. They said, we have downloaded 7 megabytes of data from your Roadster while you're driving home. We have identified the exact part in the air conditioner that needs to be fixed. And there will be a remote technician drive to your garage tomorrow morning before you go to work, and he will install that part. That's what we call service. Now, given that, how many legacy automobile manufacturers are going to go bankrupt in the next 10 years? Most of them, right?
Yeah.
Because they have no idea. And so that's the problem with these companies that are sitting around saying, oh, we can never do this by the way we're working. They just have no idea what's going to happen to them. They're going to be like Deutsche Bank, waking up on a Monday morning and all their consumer loan business is gone. And it's like a big surprise, right? That's the way the world is today.
And also, it's about to deliver fast food. I think that's a very important point, and you connect it with the Tesla example, and to be a customer oriented, to deliver service to fast. And I think that's our very good points to understand to be fast, because when you say that you need to be fast deliver to value, I think that example explained lots of things to us.
I was since we have a lot of people in Turkey on the line, I was in a big we were working with a big Turkish conglomerate companies. And I was the second keynote. The guy before me was their consultant from one of the big consulting firms, Deloitte or Accenture or something. And he was asked by 600 managers, Turkish managers. They said, we have 70 companies in our holding company. How many of the competitors of our 70 companies are doing an agile transformation?
I know the answer.
What do you think he said? 100% of your competitors are doing an agile transformation for all of your 70 companies in Turkey. And then the keynote after me was a guy who ran a company that delivered it. You could order, like today we can order in the United States, we have Instacart, or you can, for Whole Foods, you can order online, and then an hour or two, maybe longer, they show up with the food, right? This Turkish guy, he orders the food in 10 minutes. And he explained how he's doing it in Turkey and that he's already started up the same thing in London and he's going to New York. I'm like, whoa. All these people that are doing online delivery, they're going to be like Deutsche Bank consumer loans. They're going to wake up one morning. Customers are going to be saying, why should I wait an hour for food when I can get it for 10 minutes with this Turkish company? People need to understand customers want what they want, and they want it yesterday. Not now, right? I mean, there are so many cool examples. I was talking to an Italian company in Barcelona. They said, when you rent an apartment in Italy, do you know how long you have to sit in an apartment with no electricity before you can get it turned on? 6 weeks.
Oh,
I was talking to the Athens person on a web team. What happens in Greece when you rent an apartment, then you move in and you have to wait for the electricity? How long does it take? I think she said at least a month, maybe 6 weeks. Well, this Italian company figured out how to do it in 45 minutes. So how many Italians are going to use this company instead of the old utilities company to turn on their lights? All of them, right?
Yeah.
And they said, Jeff, what would you coach us to do next? I said, get 45 minutes down under 2 minutes. Because if you do that, you will own the customer for electricity in Italy. It'll be game over, right?
And
So, going back, customers say, oh, we'll never work here. We could never go that fast. The question for them is, do you want to be in business 10 years from now? You have to seriously address that. It's not about whether you want to. The customers have already decided that they will go to someone else who is faster.
Yeah, in that part, I think product management is very important and it's connected to customer oriented and to deliver fast again, and also to be service is an important in there. Yeah, we have 2 minutes, but let's share. Yeah, one question comes from our participants, and maybe I can ask this question, and after that question, you can share your suggestions again to us. But this is the last question in this session. What do you think about scaling? Yeah, some of
Okay.
Yeah.
Most of the companies that I've spent a lot of time with have thousands of Scrum teams. They have many, many thousands of developers. And Amazon, just as an example, has when I was working with the management before COVID, they had 3,000 Scrum teams delivering a new feature more than once a second live. So let me ask the person that answers this question: does Agile scale? What I find is that if you ask this question, you may be sitting in a company where it's very difficult to scale because you do not have a technical architecture that enables scalability, and you're going to need to fix that. But the recommendation is that you look at the many companies that have done this: Amazon, Microsoft, even Apple does a lot of Scrum. Many smaller companies. We just did a case study on Rocket Mortgage, the biggest mortgage company in the United States. They cut their quarterly delivery time down to daily. So you need to look at how these many, many examples used, particularly Scrum at scale, to, I'm sorry that my
some webcam issue. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
How these companies systematically, there's a great case study at Yahoo, again, another Scrum company, where they had a 18-month delivery cycle. They brought it down to 1 day. It only took them about 9 months to do it. And there's a great case study. It shows exactly how they did it step by step. So these companies that feel like they can't scale or like they can't do it, first of all, they have to decide whether they want to survive. Because if they don't care about survival, change is hard, right? Maybe just collect the money until the company goes belly up. But if they want to survive, if they want to get better, if they want to excel, then they've got to take that delivery time at 18 months at Yahoo down to a day. It can be done in less than a year with people who understand how to do it. How to do it is widely published, many examples, many different companies. Okay, so this is no longer rocket science. You may need some external help, some external coaching, both technical and agile coaching to do it, but you should start doing it right away, not wait. So don't sit around saying, oh, we can't scale. Oh, we can't be agile. Start doing it tomorrow, because your survival depends on that. I can't emphasize how important this is to your job right now. If you look at technology moves by S curves, right? When the automobile first came, it took 10 years for automobiles to replace 90% of the horses. How long does it take today to do that kind of thing? We're going to find out. It's probably less than 10 years. Cars are going to replace the old cars. But for things like the iPad, if you look at that, at the curve where you go from 0 to like 80% adoption, it took about a year. And now we have many technologies, energy technologies, automotive technologies, food technologies, new, technical products, computers, phones, all kinds of new technical stuff. All those curves are all coming together and creating this tsunami of change that's going faster and faster. And it's going so fast that it's impossible for people's minds to keep up with it. So I have a healthcare startup. How many new medical papers do you think are published every day? Over 4,000. When you go in to visit your doctor, how many of those papers published today has your doctor read? None. Your doctor is obsolete in a week. And that's happening everywhere else. I love to listen to podcasts of the world's leading entrepreneurs, and I was listening to one recently by the guy that does the X Prizes, and he was talking with his coach or someone else like the CEO of Google or somebody, and he said to them, do you realize that there are 100 times as many entrepreneurs starting companies today as there were 10 years ago? And there's 100 times as much venture capital to fund them as the one was 10 years ago. So the risk of the company that's going to have a struggle in implementing this or scaling this, the risk of going bankrupt is 10 times as great as it was 10 years ago. And in another 10 years, it will be 100 times as great. So I say to all of you who are listening, you have in Turkey a company that delivers your groceries in 10 minutes. I can't get that in the United States. But as soon as your Turkish company comes to my location, 100% of my business the very day they show up. And I am a typical customer today who wants what we want yesterday, not tomorrow, right?
Okay. And the last question about, I asked to you in the last end of last session, what's your suggestions? And lots of people shared your suggestions on LinkedIn. So I want to ask you again, what's your different suggestion for this session, for the companies, for the Scrum Masters, product owners? It doesn't matter. What's your 3 suggestion again?
So, right now I'm actually a Scrum Master for the healthcare company I'm starting up. I'm actually an Agile coach for this global web company. So this is my day-to-day experience, my daily Scrum meeting. I'm saying, okay, people, first you have to learn what Scrum is and how to do it really well. And the only training I know that gives a comprehensive view of that is the training that we use to train Toyota. And so before we even start, whoever is going to be the project leader is going to go to product owner training, and somebody is going to help them by going to Scrum Master training. And then we're going to go to work. We're going to set up our backlog in Jira. or some other tool. We're going to have weekly sprints. I always like weekly sprints. Initially, we're just going to have a list of stuff. We'll give it everything 1 point. We won't worry about estimation. We'll see how many things we get done at the end of the week. And then I'm going to coach you on how to increase production 500%, step by step. So that's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you scale that, you want to start with a small set of teams.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get a small set of teams to improve their production 400%. And once we have that, we now have a model that we can bring to your other 100 teams. So let me give you a good example of that.
Okay.
A local company building cloud technologies, servers and technology, so you can put all your stuff in the cloud. And if you bought their technology, it only cost you 1/3 of Amazon cloud services. So they were selling like crazy. They had 300 developers, but they're doing Scrum, but they weren't too fast. So they asked me to come in and not only train everybody, coach them. They had me train the managers first, take them through Scrum, and look at the impediments in the company. And I convinced the managers to give me 10 teams with this new model that we do in our training, where you have a real product owner. The management's going to support the product owner's backlog. We have a real Scrum master who's going to focus on improving performance of the team using the hyperproductive patterns, using lean tooling and principles, using Scrum at scale. Within 2 or 3 sprints, these 10 teams were all going on the average 5 times faster.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And they said they were going to hire 300 new developers. So they had 300, they were going to go to 600. I said, don't hire any of them, because if I can get 10 teams, that's 70 people going 5 times faster, then 70 people turn into the equivalent of 350 people. You've got your 300. But the management didn't follow my instructions. They went and they hired 300 people, most of them waterfall people who didn't want to do Scrum. And before the end of the year, they started running out of money.
Oh.
And the board decided they had to sell the company because they didn't have the money. They couldn't get more investment. And so they had been talking to Hewlett Packard previously, who had offered them $1 billion, and when they were really doing well. But when they went back to Hewlett Packard, they said, oh, that was when you were doing well. Now you've got all these extra people and you're running out of money. We're not going to give you $1 billion. Here's what we'll give you. So they sold themselves to Hewlett Packard. And for you managers who may be listening, the first thing that happened is the Hewlett Packard security went to the CEO's office and escorted him off the premises. And then they went after all the non-Agile managers to lay them off. And then they went after 300 non-Agile developers and laid them off. Okay, so people, I'm serious. What I'm saying are the facts, the reality. You need to be agile. You need to be fast. The quality needs to be higher, and you need to do it now.
Oh, that's great. And also, I take some notes about your examples. We need to empower the people, not to hire much more. Yeah, I think that's an important point again.
It's better to take your current development team and get them to improve performance. Look at what happened at Twitter. Okay, Twitter, I was there at Twitter when they had 2,000 people. And the developers all told me, we can't deliver anything. They explained the process efficiency was terrible, right? They had all kinds of hands-offs, nothing worked. I said, well, what is your management doing about this? And they said they're going to hire another 2,000 people.
Yeah.
Well, amazingly, Twitter was able to survive until they got 7,000 people. But what is Musk doing? He's cutting it back to 2,000 people who can actually deliver. And despite all the whining and complaining about Twitter, within 2 or 3 weeks, that application is running at least twice as fast. And the conversations are a lot more interesting. And the user base is increasing at millions a day, right? Because better application, better content. And, it's actually scaring people, right? Because it's going to be, he's going to do the same thing that he did with Tesla, right?
Yeah.
It's going to have so many features appear so fast that the competition is going to be like BMW, like, I'm not going to update my car until I get a new one. Well, I guess it's going to be game over.
And also maybe we can organize one session for about the Twitter. Everybody's talking about the Twitter, and I think Twitter is a good example to understand the agility and also the management problems, hiring problems, the other different type of topics.
Okay, let me talk about, can I talk about hiring problems for a minute?
Yeah. Sure.
You know what I heard from some Amazon managers? They said, we got tired of figuring out how to hire the right developers and get good team performance. So they said, this was at a conference, they said, we only hire teams. I don't know if this is all Amazon management, but it's certainly a subset of Amazon management. We only hire teams. And, if in 6 weeks or so, they're not delivering twice half the cost, we lay them off. I mean, they're on probation. So that way we don't get any slow teams. So do you see how simply that solves the problem?
Yeah.
Because Amazon management said, we're not going to figure out how to make the company work. We just want teams to do twice the work in half the time. And since we can hire anybody we want, we'll just keep hiring teams and we'll only keep the ones that can do it. And it's really not our problem. It's the team's problem. And if you want to work at Amazon, you need to find a team. We're not going to hire you as an individual. The only thing that matters is team performance. So managers out there, do you see how simple that is? The managers are delivering twice the value for working half as hard. What's not to like about that? This is the agile thing, right?
Yeah, I think that's an important point about the hiring processes. And thanks again, Jeff. It was very helpful. Also, I take again the lots of notes, and I want to first again to thank you to share your brilliant examples to us and to your comments and to your answers. And before the close of this session, I want to break. And I want to say to you, I want to take from you your last comments, and we can close the session for today.
Well, I think I've, given you my perspective. And my hope is that the Turkish company that can deliver my groceries in 10 minutes comes to Boston soon, because they'll be able to replace all the other vendors and get me my food faster. That's Agile.
I think that will be the most topic in our session for this session. And this was our second session. But if you say, okay, maybe we can in the next couple of months we can set the new ones, and I will write you again. And many thanks to again. And I want to close the session and thank you again, Jeff, and come and share your experience with us.
Thanks for inviting me. It's always fun to talk with you, Aaron. I hope people have gotten some enjoyment out of our. I mean, I've been laughing the whole time I've been talking. I hope everybody else is having fun.
Yeah, I believe that our attendees and also I allowed, and that was very great experience for us. So many thanks again to share all these great things. See you. Have a great day.
Have a great day.